Hi, I'm Nathan from Superior, Colorado, and I'm here to pitch you from London with Love. So let's see, what have I watched recently? I recently saw Noah Baumbach's White Noise and Sarah Polley's Woman Talking, and I thought the dialogue and cinematography of each of those was absolutely exceptional. Um, yeah, let's get into my rom com from London with Love. So why am I the person to pitch this to you? Well, I love both London and the U.S., and I have an infatuation with British people. Being somebody from the U.S., I mean, I love The Crown. I love British entertainment as a whole, and I can see myself living in London at some point. I've been to London before, and I absolutely adored traveling there. And anyhow, people, I think having people fall in love when they're so distinctly set in their own ways and passed through their culture is really funny. And I think there's so many things you can make fun of in regard to British and American people getting along. I really get and enjoy British humor, and I'm quite in touch with both cultures, given I live in one and adore the other. Rom coms are my favorite genre of films, and I love writing comedies. A lot of rom coms these days, I think, show people falling in love, but they forget the core of the story, which is why they fall in love. You look at the great rom coms, and it's because there's this dynamic magnetism between the two leads, opposites attract and detract. Like, what forces are coming together or pulling apart so they can pair together. I mean, if you look at French Kiss and When Harry Met Sally, those are absolutely perfect examples of what I'm talking about. So, yeah, let's go into the theme of From London with Love. So, British and American culture are each very distinct, and I think people from both places pride themselves in being from their respective countries. And I think if you catch people from those places in a rough place in their life in the same spot, something really interesting could happen. There's the joke that people fighting is a functional marriage, and I think that's kind of how love can work at times. It's not always this way, but the concept of how someone who annoys you for fun can be lovely is kind of what I'm going for with this. And a lot of movies do this over the top, and it doesn't really work, and I think that's the fault of not knowing, the character relationships and not engaging with the characters correctly. I'm a big fan of each of these countries, so I think I have a decent concept of how people act, and I have friends from both, honestly. And tonally, From London with Love is a cross between Love Actually, The Nice Guys, and French Kiss. It has the diametric opposition that The Nice Guys do with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling in the beginning of the movie. The romance and humor of Love Actually, also the setting, given that it's London during the wintertime, and the cross-cultural romance that is French Kiss, if you've seen it. It's fantastic. All these are fantastic. And yeah, okay, so the main characters that we have Lucas and Lily. Lucas is an American 20-year-old from Boston who travels to study abroad for acting. His grandfather is a veteran, and his dad takes pride in American values, which in turn influenced Lucas. He has a lot of charisma and can be quite eccentric in his behavior. He recently broke up with his longtime girlfriend in America, so he's a bit depressed, but also excited by the fact he could find someone well in London. His charisma is infectious, and that plays a part in swinging her over. And Lily is a British 20-year-old from London and works at the theater Lucas is performing at while he's studying abroad. Lily is sick of men after breaking up with her short-term boyfriend recently, and she's not actively looking for a relationship, and she has a very British family. Just like Lucas, her family's behavior has influenced her behavior. So, he's starkly American and she's starkly British. Can it work out? They're very set in their cultural ways. They're so diametrically opposed, yet they love one another. It's, yeah, a functional marriage of sorts. And for Lily, I was kind of thinking of Lily James. Look-wise, given that, she's from the UK, and also just, yeah. And then young Eddie Redmayne there on the right would kind of be the inspiration for Lucas. Not necessarily the redhead hair or anything, but kind of the general, I guess, scrawniness. Not that I have anything against that. Yeah, and let's get into the logline. So, basically, a starkly American actor travels to study abroad in London where he falls in love with a starkly British woman. Can he play the leading role with such a distraction? And the setting is London during the Christmas season, and it's modern day, but the characters look like they could have come from the 70s, except they wear a modern fashion. And yeah, let's get into Act 1 of the story. So, within Act 1, Lucas and his group of study abroad pals from Boston College head to the airport to fly to London for their study abroad acting trip. We learn on the bus on the way to the airport that Lucas has just recently gone through a breakup with a longtime girlfriend, so he's a bit lonely, but also excited to find someone from London. He's known as one of the more talented actors within the group that's going, and he typically plays the lead within the group. And once they get to London, they drop off their bags at the hotel, which, can be seen here. Since this is a shorter study abroad, they can afford to, be pent up in this place for a bit. And so once they get there, they settle their stuff down, and then they go to a bar. And as Lucas is there having fun with his abroad pals, he meets eyes with Lily, who's on the other side of the bar with her girlfriends, and she has her pinky raised when she drinks, even though it's not tea. And Lucas spots this, and they kind of, catch one another's eyes, and Lucas teases her and drinks with his middle finger up, because he's American. And so she blushes, rolls her eyes, and it's this cute little interaction, and then she goes back to talking to her girlfriends. And Lucas smiles at her, and he's kind of infatuated by this little interaction, like he feels like there's some magic there. And then his study abroad group pulls him away, and they leave the bar, and as he looks back at her, he wonders if he'll ever see her again. He goes back to the hotel, and he unpacks everything and goes to bed. He then wakes up the following morning and heads with everyone else to the small theater that they're training at in central London, where they're training to do Hamlet. They're greeted by the director and theater of the owner as they begin to set up shop. And Lucas aims to get the main role in the production of Hamlet that they're doing. As they're setting up, and Lucas is helping move in props and stage utilities, he ends up spotting Lily, which is, the girl that he met at the bar, and he drops the skull that Hamlet has that they're using for the production. And so Lily goes over to talk to the owner and director of the play and sees Lucas on stage as he's moving stuff. And it's kind of this like, oh, you're here. And it's like, whoa. And then we move into Act 2, where the director tells the group of Boston students that they'll audition tomorrow and that they'll send out the script audition lines tonight and have the casting posted the following morning after auditions. Lucas is all nervous now that his newfound crush works at the theater he's practicing at. He vigorously studies that night at the hotel and auditions the following morning. And his audition went pretty good, but he was still thrown off a bit by his nerves because, she's there and it's his crush and whatnot. And so he looks at the casting list that following morning, and he learns that he earned the part of Hamlet because people respect him. And frankly, the teacher really likes him, so he has that going for him. And so they practice several times, but, in rehearsal and whatnot. But Lucas struggles whenever Lily's present in the room. And so Lucas continues to pester Lily and play, not in a bad way, but they playfully mess with one another, kind of more akin to the reactions they had at the bar, and he hopes that, she'll talk to him for longer than 5 minutes or something. And as time goes on, Lily gives in more to Lucas and his infectious yet stupid theatrics, and so they keep having fun with this. And so then after many days of struggle, it can be seen, the director can see that Lucas is kind of losing his focus, and he gets really angry at him. And this gets Lucas upset, but he kind of decides to take a breather, and he walks over to confront Lily, and he asks Lily if she'd like to go on a date. But she rejects him and tells him that she's kind of over men after her previous short-term relationship with her boyfriend went south. And so he continues to struggle on stage after this, and people take less of a liking to him because he's becoming more frustrating. However, he eventually learns that this works really well to his advantage because practically everybody's against Hamlet within the play of Hamlet, as he's on his own journey in the world just like Lucas is. And so, time goes on, and they kind of have more of this playful banter, and he's able to settle in. And he proceeds to ask Lily if she'd like to go on a walk as friends so they could learn more about one another and, resume a somewhat normal relationship so Lucas can find some sort of balance in his life. So they go on a walk together and listen to Paul McCartney. They go ice skating, and there's Hamlet. And then, begin again. They kind of listen to music together with Paul McCartney. 500 Days of Summer, they go to see a movie together, they go ice skating. And again, none of these are dates. There's a big emphasis on that, because that's how Lily wanted it. And so as these events, occur and whatnot, Lily begins to fall in love with Lucas, who had accepted her friendship rather than, anything actually romantic happening between the two of them. And Lily begins to fall in love with him, and their banter on these dates consists of the cultural clashes they have with one another, similar to what they had in the theater and also the small interaction they had at the bar in the beginning. And without her being a distraction, more or less a friend, Lucas begins to really thrive in the role of Hamlet as they get closer and closer to the performance. And as they get closer and closer to the performance, Lucas realizes that his time in London's almost up, and that if he's going to make any move, see if Lily feels differently, he should do it now, because who knows if he'll get another chance. And that takes us in Act 3, where, they'd gone on all these dates, and Lucas is just like, we're getting close to the big performance, and da-da-da-da-da. So Lily and her girlfriends live in a flat in central London together, and it's the night before their big performance at the London Coliseum Theatre, because they were practicing at this small little theater that I've shown here, something akin to that. And so, yeah, this is like the girlfriend, Lily and her girlfriend's flat. And so, anyhow, Lucas is nervous and hasn't told Lily that he loves her, and he has a ticket to spare so she can see his performance. So he's cold, nervous, and alone and outside. And so he begins to throw snowballs at their upstairs window to get her attention. And when she finally does, she looks at him as he gestures that he wants to talk to her. And Lucas tells her that he loves her and that it would mean the world to him if she would swing by and see the performance tomorrow. He hands her a ticket. She looks down at it and smiles, and then she pockets the ticket. She looks back up at him, and they kiss. And then he proceeds to do, a little celebration dance similar to that of Martin Freeman in Love Actually, when he gets kissed by the person he was acting with in the movie that they were doing. And he proceeds to cheerily dance and walk away in a Charlie Chaplin-like fashion as he calls for a taxi back to the hotel. And so then, at the performance that night, Lucas is crushing it, and she arrives, and she's sitting in the audience, and during the performance, they catch one another's eyes, and they smile lovingly at one another. And then, the performance wraps up. There's huge applause. They all bow, da-da-da-da-da. Typical, Broadway-like fashion for a play. And then they look at, so they've looked at one another. She comes to greet him after the play, and they, they kiss and hug, and, there's congratulations and whatnot. And they walk together after the play and walk through Piccadilly Circus together. And then there's a huge bird's eye zoom out. And that's basically that's the whole story for From London with Love. So thank you so much for listening. And that's the theater, and then there's Piccadilly Circus. So yeah, cool.